Hello, lovelies. So we're going to be going over a new feature in Paging Polly, which is typography settings in your themes. So we are going to create a new theme together with a new pattern as we are officially, today is Halloween as I'm filming this. And so you know what happens right after Halloween, probably already happened in your area, is it's Christmas time. I have got some spookier patterns. So it'll be Spooky Christmas. And we're going to create a spooky Christmas theme together and go over the typography settings that you now have access to. And some of the reasons that we added this, which it is easy to say like, oh, it's just because of aesthetics and I love pretty things. But there is actually also a practical reason for this for my fellow neurodivergent folks, which is having more control over your fonts and font sizes is a great thing for accessibility, especially if you have some sort of dyslexia at a varying degree like I do. Having a different font can really help not only make it easier for you to edit and read, but I know for me, it also helps me kind of be in a more of creative, fun mode while I'm actually generating and or writing drafts. So let's hop on in. So you are going to go to your settings. When you first go to settings, you would be here. You're going to go to themes. We're going to go create theme. We are going to call these Spooky Christmas. Spooky Christmas. Okay, and I have a color palette over here to the side. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting in. And this is always fun to me. I don't know why. Sometimes it looks like one color. I have a little helper guy. Okay, we're going to be typing these in manually, I think. So A 3436. So we're going to make this a little bit more green. We're going to go nice dark green. Okay. Sometimes I have a color pit preview that helps me with just grabbing color codes. And I swear sometimes it's like dead on. And then other times I'm like, oh, that is a completely different color. Like that one did not look green or did not look brown at all, but it is. Okay, let's see. This is a nice red. Oh, that's a little bit too red. So we're just going to darken this. Like so. And then we've got a couple of light colors. So that's going to be our text. Actually, let's grab that red for the border. Also grab that as the secondary color. Nice beige. And obviously you can play around these to your heart's content. A really fun place to get colors and color ideas is Pinterest. There we go. I'm actually going to steal this primary for the selection color. I'm just going to change it a little bit, make it a little darker. Okay, we're going to leave that as white. I'm going to take the text a little bit brighter. And same thing with the color secondary. Go a little bit brighter. There we go. I don't actually love that as a border, so we're going to go a little more subtle. Okay. So now we've got that. We are going to enable a pattern. Browse media. Okay, so this is also another new feature, is we can now drag and drop to the browse media. So that's what I'm going to do. I got a bleeding ornaments. And okay, we just need to, okay, so it is there. We just need to crank it up a little bit. So I'm going to do screen, I think, and we're going to have that basically be almost all the way. Let's do, I do love a good color burn on a dark. No, we're going to go with screen. And we're going to keep it pretty bright. Okay. And then we're going to enable custom fonts, which is new. So we have header fonts and we have body fonts. So there are more header fonts than body fonts because some of the fonts for the headers you would definitely not want to read an entire chapter in. We'll just put it that way. So we have all of kind of our normie fonts at the top. So we've got a whole bunch of sans serif. We've got some serif ones here. We've got a couple monospace. Monospace is sometimes easier for dyslexia and ADHD as well. And then if we come down here toward the bottom, these are the majority of our stylized. So this is for our headers. So we have a nice medieval one right here, Eagle Lake. Rye is kind of a fun Western font. We also have Creepster, which is a good horror font. Same with Nocifer, which is right below, which is a bleeding font, which is actually really appropriate with our bleeding ornaments. So I'm going to leave Nocifer as our header. And then as our body font, you want to kind of stick to some of the normals, but there are a couple fonts in here that are, like I said, more helpful for dyslexia and ADHD. I am working on a dyslexic font that is going to be open source for the formatting of Paging Polly. So that will be coming soon so that we'll have a true dyslexia font. But in the meantime, Lexand is one that a lot of people with dyslexia do well with. And then the other one that I personally really love is Comic Relief. So it's basically a Comic Sans style font. Because of the way it's configured, it's a little bit easier to read. And I don't know, this was years ago, but it was in a writer's group that said if you switch to Comic Sans, like in Scrivener, that it increases your productivity. And I thought it was kind of BS, but I decided to try it. And I don't know if it really increases productivity or if it just makes it easier to read and easier to do edits for me. But for me personally, it does help. And I think part of it is that it's easier to read. And then I also think it's a little bit like you're not taking yourself super seriously. Like it doesn't look like a real book where you feel like you're, competing with Charles Dickens or something. So I really love Comic Relief. We also have some really nice, so we have Special Elite, which is a typewriter font, which is really fun. We have I'm Fell, which is in all caps, which if it was up your alley, it could go that way. The other one that I really love is E.B. Garamond. It's just a really nice serif font. You do perhaps want to do a font multiplier if you're using some of the smaller ones. So I wouldn't use Nocifer with Garamond just because Garamond, I know I would want to crank the font size up a little bit. And if I have that with Comic Relief, I don't have to worry about that. But this is the multiplier, so you can do a larger font size. So if you have problems with vision, this could be really helpful for you as well. And one is the standard. You could also go smaller if that was up your alley as well. 0.8 is the smallest we have. Okay, and then if we have create theme, ta-da! We now have these beautiful custom fonts in throughout our Paging Polly. We've got our pretty little bleeding ornaments. We've got our header here. It changes Paging Polly as well. And if we go back to project, you will now see we have our new Christmas theme pattern here. We have Comic Relief as our main font in here. And then you can see some of the areas where it does change the header fonts. And in fact, if we come back in here, do I have... I was trying to see if I already had one, but I don't. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this. So this is not a header currently, but if I come here and I switch it to heading 2, it will also be in Nocifer. The fonts would not cross over if you are exporting. This is just a visual medium for working inside of Polly. But hopefully you enjoy this little update. And again, like the main reason that I have this, yes, I do love a good aesthetic, and matching an aesthetic to the project I'm working on does make me feel more creative. But the other part is, of course, accessibility, and certain people do better with serif fonts, certain people do better with sans serif fonts, and this just gives you some options so that you have a better experience while you're editing and writing your book. And we will see you in the next one.